Hi folks, Kevin here. Well, it's August 9th, 2017, and I've been busy around here doing the various projects and all, and I've been thinking about trying to make a quick video to respond to some of the comments and questions. So that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm going back in the comments section in my, YouTube Analytics, and Extreme Fishing commented, "Awesome building. I love the layout of your farm homestead." Thanks so much, Extreme Fishing. I really appreciate the compliment. It just invigorates me to do more and more of the video recording of the things that I'm doing here on site. So I really appreciate it. Let's see. Made by Steve. He was going through some of the old videos, and this has to do with the chicken coop update, I guess. I just noticed that the windows in the chicken coop are made by Apple, I don't know, and are no longer available. And he actually works for, is a craftsman repairing old window sashes and all wooden window sashes. That's awesome. If you were nearby, I'd take you up on it as far as trying to help me out with repairing some of the wood with the window frames that we've got. These windows I picked up on Craigslist. I think they were probably outside for several months. I think he had tried selling them. They're certainly over 30 years old. And they were, they had a lot of mold and the paint was flaking off on them, but the wood was still in pretty decent shape. The windows don't close that well. The cranks are screwed up somewhat. But for the chicken coop, I thought, well, I'll just frame them out for those windows. I'm someone who really likes zero waste, trying to prevent things from going to a landfill. And I knew that they'd be good enough for the chicken coop, and they certainly have so far. So I'm not sure where you actually live, Steve, but if you're nearby this area, I'm in Oswego, New York, north of Syracuse, New York, just 8 miles south of Lake Ontario. So that's where I'm at. So thanks for mentioning that. I appreciate it. I'm sorry, I'm terrible at pronouncing names, terrible at remembering names as well. He's got some questions. This has to do with the microgreens. I actually wrote a quick response to him as well. Are the lights on for 24 hours a day? No, I have them come on at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm always up doing chores at 5, so it's just much easier for me to do my morning watering of the microgreens at that time, and I have them go off at 8 p.m. so that's about 15 hours that they're on, and they're on that all year long. Of course, the microgreens aren't there. They're only growing for 7 to 10 days, depending on which variety we're growing. Right now, it's mostly broccoli, since it's really loaded with the sulforaphane. It has the highest amount, so that's the reason for that. And you wondered about our soilless mix that we're using. I bought soilless mixes from Walmart, from Amazon, and I've gone around to some of the nurseries around here that didn't pan out because they had the different fungicides in them. But a friend who's closed up his nursery was getting rid of some perlite and some of his soilless mixes, and I ended up buying up all his stuff that was available. So I lucked out on getting that. It's too bad for Paul. It was Paul's nursery in Fulton, New York, that went out of business. He was a hydroponics, and before that he had a full-fledged nursery for years as well. So, and I'm not sure, is Da the first name, or is it Da Agbolsa? Bolsa. I apologize for chopping up your name. Thomas Kerrigan is in the United Kingdom. You see, this has to do with the DJI failure update. Oh, and he had suggested, along with another commenter as well, that DJI, the Phantom 4, you can actually turn back the firmware on it, and that really solved a lot of his problems. And I've researched it online. There's quite a few people who have gone back, and people have made YouTube videos about it, just going ahead and going back a generation in firmware, because the firmware update, and I don't know which one it was, I think it was a 602, the last 3 digits, I think those are the digits. I'll be making another update on the DJI, my experiences, so I won't say any more about that. I'll do a little bit more detailed review in an upcoming video, but thanks for making the suggestion, Thomas. I appreciate that. Amina commented on how to size your solar panel system, one that I posted a few months ago, and she had some questions. Does it matter if it's rainy or cold days? And I guess I hadn't really covered that. So the colder it is with the solar panels, they seem to work much better. At least it's been reported that way scientifically. I can't attest to that, because I can't say on cold days with the same exact amount of the least amount of clouds and the same day length period. I can't say that I've quantified it, but it certainly has been well documented that the colder it is, the more efficient the solar panels seem to produce more electricity. She also asked about the rainy. Well, here on our site, we've got lots of fish-eating birds. And so like our herons, we have a heron rookery, we have bitterns and greenback herons and great blue herons, we have eagles, we have osprey, but the herons are the ones that really drop the big splat. So sometimes, you know, the size of a 15-inch laptop, that'll be the size of a splat, a whiteout area on the solar panels. And certainly, like last year, we're in the midst of a drought, so there's lots of dust being kicked up. So any dust, anything that's sitting on top of the glass that covers the monocrystalline or polycrystalline solar panels, that's going to interfere or deflect, not allow so much light to be absorbed by the solar panels themselves, and therefore decrease the efficiency. So the rain is kind of a benefit, where it washes off all of that debris, washes off the dust in most places, or the leaves that may get on it, which are very common, and certainly in our case the bird droppings, and we have it's right around one of our first food forests. So although they're much smaller, we have so many berry consuming birds, and there's all their droppings. Now you don't really notice it on the solar panels, all those blue, because all the blueberries or the blackberries or the mulberries, they're all darker colored berries. So you don't really see it because the solar panels themselves are somewhat dark. But on some of the lighter buildings, you can see it. It shows up really well. So both cold and rain are both good. However, associated with rain are overcast, cloudy skies, which we have a great deal of in this area. And that's why our solar panel array is larger to accommodate for our snow-covered winters and our overcast days here in central New York. So those are two factors that we took into consideration when we sized our solar panel array. So, and thanks, Antonio, for responding with some of your responses to Amina's question as well. I think it's great that there is the interaction here as well. And Jose from Jose Computer Center also commented on the DJI Phantom 4, downgrade the firmware as well. King DYT commented, laugh out loud, I was there. That was in response to the Genius Olympiad that I go and judge during the June of each year. And next year I'm going to try to make sure that I set up enough time where I can get there earlier and actually interview some of the young folks who are there. I'm so impressed with the participants and the whole atmosphere at the Genius Olympiad. It's such an amazing thing. Yes, yes. And I just posted a video, the keyhole garden failure, which is right over here. Wayne Marion commented, he thought, geez, you probably already removed all the stones yet. No, we had a lot of rain the day that I went to move the stones. That night it rained an awful lot, and so the ground is still saturated in that area. So I've got a lot of work to do yet. But he had a few suggestions. One was to use the back fence wall back there. I guess you can actually see that back there. So back there where you see it looks like wrought iron over the block wall, using that as the back fence to the keyhole garden. That would reduce the volume of the area that I'd be able to plant in, unfortunately. So when we have that fence there, so the whole idea of the keyhole garden is to be able to, with comfort, be able to lean in and reach at arm's length. So about 2 feet in is what we typically, 24 to, I guess you could go up to 32 inches, maybe 34 inches is a good comfortable arm reach. And then you have to take into account the stone wall that you're reaching over, although you could kneel on that. So the idea is trying never to actually step on or compact the soil within the garden. And so that's one thing. And if I put the stones and use the back fence, which Wayne mentioned, use the back fence as one retaining wall, and then just put the stone wall out closer to me and just having that reach in, then I wouldn't have the double reach from the opposite side and from the side where the fence is, because there is the metal above it, just like you can see over here in this image, and you might be able to see over here as well, that image. So that's one thing. And Thea and I, my wife Thea and I, really thought about this and discussed it at length. But Wayne also mentioned a couple of other things. He mentioned certainly using, and I called it a pyramid. It's an inverted V, like a wall that's like this, if you will, so that the base is, yes, the base is wider, and therefore, and the walls are tapered in. The way I constructed this, I basically put, for most of it, single layer rocks and had the soil supporting the inside of it. So I just had the stone face supported by the soil on the inside where the bed is, and it leaning toward the bed somewhat. And of course, when the when the wood decomposed and broke down from the hugelkultur component of the keyhole garden, the soil level decreased as time went on. So it went down to about 1/3 of its original height. And that's something I'll be going over as my experiences with some of these hugelkultur beds that I put in over the years, and seeing the size difference. As you can see the excavators next to it, the tractors next to it, and see that it ends up collapsing to be about maybe 24 to 33% of the initial height of the system. But it's also dependent on the breadth of the width of the hugelkultur mound that I put up, and certainly the rate of decomposition depending on the constituents that are in the hugelkultur bed. So back to this. So the keyhole garden hugelkultur material decomposed, the soil depth decreased as well, and the walls sort of fell inward. Now I put it up too quickly, trying to move along. Big mistake on my part. I should have taken the time, and you're right. Two things that Wayne said: make it a double wide base and fill in all the voids with really small stone, so that you really do have a nice foundation. That's the way it should be done. And in one of my previous videos, when I talked about our passive solar home and the thermal mass, I can't remember which video it was, but you'll see the veneer stone face going up the chimney there. And indeed, that's up against a chimney, a cement block chimney that's built there for the two chimneys that bring the hot air down from the peak down into the thermal mass. But they have a stone face on the front, and you're only seeing one stone for each one of those. But behind, mixed in with the mortar, are small stones to take up the void. So very similar to what Wayne is describing, and it sounds like he's had some significant experience with it, and he's absolutely right. This whole area is there's stone walls all around this part of the country where I live, because it's so much gravel material. Some areas they're more flat rocks, which you see gorgeous stone walls that have been up for hundreds of years. All the stone walls on my property that were put up probably a couple hundred years ago, a lot of them have already fallen or have been breaking down, and some of it's because of trees and shrubs growing up in between them. So I think that covered all of the questions and comments recently. I think that's it. So I really do appreciate the interactions that everyone's giving me on this channel. It's encouraging for me. I'm enjoying doing the videos. I'm trying to get better as time goes on, and I really do want to share my failures throughout the process. I don't think of failures the way most people think of failures. I'll just mention that failures to me are just opportunities to learn, to really observe what has happened and to analyze. And certainly, like Wayne commenting on, geez, consider doing these couple of things that might solve the problem, and you won't have as much work before you. And I think that's what's really good about having a YouTube community. So sharing our failures with one another allows us the opportunity to glean valuable information from each other. So I really appreciate it. So just be aware that things are still crazy here right now. That we're going to be spending a lot of time the next couple of days harvesting as much as we can from some peach trees, and the blackberries are coming on soon, and so we got lots of harvesting. And of course, since our freezers are all full, we have to process everything and start doing some significant canning, which we didn't like doing until the winter months when it's colder and all. But we'll be going crazy here, so I may not be typing out any responses to comments right off the bat, but I'll try to, as soon as I get a few comments or questions, I'll try to do a YouTube video like this. So don't be afraid of asking me anything. I appreciate the interactions with the YouTube community. So thanks so much for watching, folks. I really appreciate it. Have a fantastic day, and enjoy the sun while you can. I'm going to go do some work now. Bye-bye, folks.